nice fish, man. He wanted the frog. Come here, buddy. Gotcha. That's a strong one. That was a strong one, man. Put your back, buddy. Got me wet. Hey folks, Den Herring here. Welcome back to Fish Den 365. Today we're out on our home lake, Nakamixon, and we decided to do some frog fishing. Now we brought 8 rods along because we don't know if the frog bite's even going to really be on today. So I've been out here now. Let's see what time it is. We started at 1:30. It's 3:24, so I was out here almost 2 hours. I've had 2 blow-ups on the frog, fishing different main lake pads, and I got 1 fish on the frog just there, you just saw it. So we're going to continue. It looks like in the last hour this bite might be picking up. I'm expecting some storms to come in today, and if that happens, if we get some pressure change from these storms and thunderstorms, that can turn this frog bite on a little bit. And there's a wind chop pushing in here, so we're going to continue with this frog a little bit longer, at least another hour in these different pads, and see what we come up with. Another blow up there. Totally off. They don't often give you a second chance, but this one did. Boy, it's fun fishing these frogs out here. Even if the bass aren't giant, it's still a lot of fun. That's a nice frog fish right there. He gave me 2 chances. That was cool. That was fun. They're wild. They're wild. Just barely took it. Son of a damn. So the rod I was using on this trip was a Dobbins Fury
It's a heavy action, fast rod. It's got a fast tip, which is important so that I can sling a good cast out there, a good long cast, but even more importantly, get an accurate cast. And you can see in this video, there were actually 2 times where I had a second chance to catch fish where there was a blow up, and then on the second try, I caught those fish. So it was important to be able to cast accurately. This rod does the job. It also has the backbone that I need to get those fish out of the pads. I was using a Bass Pro Shops Carbon Light 2 reel, 8.3 to 1 gear ratio. It's a very fast reel. I like to have that for when I'm fishing the frogs so I can quickly get those bass up on top of the pads and out from them so that I get a chance to get them to the boat. I was using 50-pound spider wire braided line, and I was using dark green. So I wanted a dark line, and I just tie that directly to the frog. When I'm fishing heavy cover like pads like that, I don't use a leader. I just tie the braid directly to the frog, and because I'm fishing in heavy cover, I don't think they really notice the line at all. If the line starts to get frayed, which you can see this is starting to fray here, I'll cut this and then retie. And if it's starting to fray up the line, I'll just take a dark green or even a black marker and just take that marker and make sure the line is good and dark with black or green. The frog I was using was a Savage Gear Lily Ninja frog. This is a frog that I really like quite a bit. It's a $5 frog, but for $5 it's got all of the quality components that you need. It's got a good seal, it's weighted so that it sits right. It's got very, very sharp hooks right out of the package. It's a super soft frog body so that it can get compressed easily when the fish are biting. The hooks are very sharp, but more important, or just as importantly, the hooks are very, very strong. I caught a lot of fish on this frog and I've never bent these hooks. And I've spent $12, $13, $15, $16 on other frogs and have bent the hooks after catching a couple of fish. So for $5, it's really hard to beat this frog from my point of view. Now you can see when you buy this frog, the legs come a little longer than this. I shorten the legs up a little bit because I wanted those fish to focus in on the frog itself, not nip at the back of the legs. I want to get that mouth of the fish onto the hooks. So that's just a preference that I had for the way I was fishing this frog in that thick, heavy cover. And the color of this frog is called Dark Leopard. So I was using this dark leopard color. It's got some brown and black on top, a little bit of yellow chartreuse in there, and then a white belly. Good color for clear, bright days. On dark days, it might be a better idea to go with a dark color. You just have to experiment a little bit with that. So there's something that I began to notice after I had a couple blow-ups in the pads, and I'm wondering if you noticed it with how I caught these fish in the video. Now, I didn't light the water on fire with the amount of fish I caught, but I did catch 3 fish and I had an opportunity for a few others, and I had some others that blew up. And if I didn't figure something out early, I certainly wouldn't have had nearly as many opportunities to catch the fish. So what I was doing when I first fished pads, let's say that right here, this hand that's up like this is the bank, it's the shoreline. This area here, where my wrist is and all the hand, is the pads. And then this is the front of the pads, and then my boat is out here somewhere. So when I approach pads and I'm frog fishing like this, the fish can be anywhere in these pads. They can be at the bank, all the way back here. They could be somewhere in the middle, or they could be near the edge of the pads. So I would position the boat out here and I would throw perpendicular to them all the way onto the bank. I'd work the frog off the bank into the pads or into the water between the pads and the bank, and then I'd work it right across the pads. And you don't see that in this video because I already concluded where the fish were by the time I turned the camera on. But when I started fishing, that's exactly what I was doing. And the reason why I fished that way is because I wanted to know where most of the fish were positioned in those pads. Were they near the bank? Were they somewhere in the middle? Or were they on the edge? And in this particular case, every blow up I had, every strike I had, every fish I caught came from about the middle of those pads. They were positioned in a depth of water that they wanted to be, which turned out to be in the middle of the pads. It's not always like that. Sometimes they're at the bank, sometimes they're on the edge, many times they are in the middle. So once I've recognized that, I had 2 blow-ups and that fish that I caught was also in the middle, the first fish. As soon as I recognized that, I would position my boat over here and cast this way so that I can bring that frog back over the middle of the pads for a longer distance, meaning that my frog was more likely to be in a strike zone where the bass were. So just by placing my boat in that position and casting that way and keeping the frog in the middle of the pads rather than casting to the bank and going this way, you can see I can cover a whole lot more water where the fish were likely to be, which is what I found. They were in the middle of the pads. So keep that in mind when you're fishing pads. You know, it's all a matter of where in the pads are they. And these pad fields can be quite large. So it becomes important. Are they 2/3 in? Are they halfway in? Are they, you know, 3/4 of the way in towards the bank? It's important to begin to recognize the depth of water or how far in that the fish are likely to be holding in those pads. Once you know that, now you can start focusing in more on those areas, make more casts to those areas, make casts in such a way where the angle allows you to bring it through those areas for a longer distance or period of time, and it just ups your odds to getting more bites once you know that information. I hope that's been helpful for you. Try that out the next time you go pad fishing, and I think you'll find that it really is important and that you'll up your bites and therefore up your opportunities to getting fish to the boat. If you like the video, hit that like button. Remember, subscribe to my channel. I'm Den Herring for Fish Den 365. We're certified bassified, and may God bless your fishing endeavors.